come up here and put my glasses on quickly. It's so vain. Let me know when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little bit, we're at a Special Forces camp. We've been flown in to help out. The camp is under fire. We've been flown in to help out, to help medevac some people out of there. We made it to a bunker. The bunker's under fire, and we have wounded casualties there, and we're taking care of them. So that's just a little preamble. Again, I forewarn you. I looked down at the blood seeping through my shirt, which remained tightly tied around his torso as it slowly pooled on the stretcher below him. I then looked back up and into his terror-stricken eyes, which in and of themselves, without words, were desperately pleading with me to not let him die. Looking into his eyes, and with a voice that came from somewhere else, I said calmly and reassuringly, I know, and you're not alone. I knew you would be dead within a minute. The other medic on the other side of him gently pushed him back down on the stretcher, saying, Lie still, we're here and you're in good hands. He went back down on the stretcher, his physical stamina pouring out of him along with his blood. With what little strength he had left, he put his arms, excuse me, I've got to scroll down. He put his arms around me, and I did the same with him, gently holding him close to me. He then spoke softly to me, saying again, Doc, and then his eyes fixed on nothing, and his grip on me disappeared. I heard the last raspy breath exit his body. Then he was gone. He died in my arms, and there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. Not a goddamn thing. But during his death throes, something else began to stir inside of me. It seemed to be coming from a very deep and a very quiet place. A place so deep within me that it was also beyond me. It entered into the very same space within me that was at that moment screaming out my sense of helplessness and hopelessness. Something else had entered into the sheer agony that cried out from my soul. I can only describe it as something like beauty itself. Not so much in a spiritual way, although it was surely that, but in a more natural, unconditional, and loving way. I could feel it engulfing what I can only describe as my soul and heart. It was with me, in me, and from me, all at the same time. In the middle of my helplessness and powerlessness, and in the midst of the chaotic hell and misery surrounding me, I began, just barely, to understand something about the essence of what Indian Tom had been telling me. It was the beginning of something I later came to know and began to understand. It was the beginning of humility. Everything within me was right, and everything where I was had the sense of being complete. As I gently let go of his now limp and lifeless body, tears welling up in my eyes, I looked up and heard the Green Beret over from me yell, I need some help here. I looked over and saw the mangled face of the woman whom I later found out was a nurse. She emitted a sound I will never forget as her last breath came. It was a gurgling death rattle from what used to be her throat and mouth. She had drowned in her own blood. I looked slightly to my right and saw another wounded person. A man who looked to be in his 30s. Both his legs were missing, having been severed at about mid-thigh. All that remained were shreds of tissue, muscle, and collapsed arteries and veins. He had bled out and was also dead. As I continued to scan the inside of the bunker around me, taking in all the pain and suffering unfolding there, a sense began to build of the sacredness of all of it as it impressed itself on what I was seeing. This was hallowed ground, a place and space where the completed circle of life was being honored as it released itself, having given and spent itself for the lives of others. These were honorable and holy deaths that I was beholding. It wasn't that what I was seeing wasn't affecting me. The inner scream continued inside of me until that part of me couldn't scream anymore and just became numb. But there was definitely something else there as well, something wiser and something that somehow understood all of this in a way that I couldn't, and from a place of sacrificial blessing where I'd never been. It was somehow whole and perfect, and I was not. It seemed to be powerful in places and ways where I was all but powerless. It also seemed to have a knowledge, harmony, and balance to it that I had never known. It knew me, and I had never known it or of it before. And yet, I was a part of it all. Thank you.